Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you, Tawny. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we were just chatting, before the call, and you and I have known each other for quite some time.
Hmm.
And watching your journey unfold, the strength that you've carried with you on your fertility path and in life, and just knowing the kind of person that you are, what you've created out of your pain and challenges, like I really see that in you.
Hmm.
I'm just so glad you're here to have this talk with me and to support others who are, maybe in the struggle on their fertility path too. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey for sure. So, I don't remember when, as you said that, I was just trying to think of when we first met. I don't remember how long ago that was.
I think it was like 2019.
Oh, then that was pretty
It's been a while.
early on in my journey too. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll dive into your story, your path. Like what's unique about I think having this conversation right now is you're in the middle of it. You're in the middle. You want to be a mom.
Hmm.
And I've listened to some of your recent podcasts and congratulations on your podcast,
Thank
Radiant
you.
Resilience. It's so
Thank
good.
you.
Been honored to be a guest on there too. And like you have opened up about things you're currently navigating through in real time,
Mhm. Yeah.
feeling fear, feeling anger, feeling pain, sense of worthiness, going through your own healing.
Yeah.
And I think this conversation can really support so many who are currently in it.
I
And
really
and
hope
you're
so.
walking this right now.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's been I'm in a very unique place right now too, I think, for a lot of people going through this journey because I am facing the potential life childless and trying to navigate those feelings and what that looks like. And it's been a wild ride, like just navigating that portion of it, not even the actual fertility treatments and all of that stuff before, but just trying to find my what's next and where I want to go and wanting to feel like solid and grounded in whatever that choice may be, whether that is
Mm,
childless or pursuing other options or whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at, is just trying to heal from the past trauma of infertility and infertility
mm,
treatments, and then looking to the future at what that looks like. Because that's scary when it's not
mm.
anything you thought it was going to be. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But you and I both know this path. And as far as the fertility challenges that we face, I think you would agree that it affects every area of our life.
yes.
It affects our relationships with ourselves, with our partners, with our friends, our family, our finances. You have gone
Yeah.
through so many transfers. We'll talk about that
Yeah.
overseas, even.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, just our sense of knowing who we are, like what brings us joy and our self care. And you've deepened into different, I know, holistic kind of things along your path, holistic practices. It's affected, I mean, everything, right? Questioning uh, maybe faith, maybe, um, gosh, our work, right? Your work.
Yeah.
We just juggle
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, it's
And
absolutely all consuming and there's
yeah.
no way around it. And I think a lot of that is because it's our bodies that are going through all of that too. And
Yeah.
so when you start this journey off by paying attention to every little teeny tiny function of our bodies and what it goes through every month to try to get pregnant or conceive,
Mhm.
it's just you become very
Mhm.
in tune with that and it's very, very hard to shut off.
Mhm. I know. I mean, you started this path in 20, was it 2018?
So I actually stopped birth control in 2016, but
Okay.
I will
Okay.
say that it wasn't until about a year and a half, maybe a year or so later, that I really started trying to get pregnant naturally.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then I started, yeah, my IVF stuff started in 2018.
And right away, can you give us a little synopsis of kind of what information you got from the get-go? Any diagnoses? You and your husband, were you both tested? Did you have a clinic that you liked right away? I know you've made lots of different changes along your path. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of
so
a roller coaster. So, we started off because we just weren't conceiving naturally, obviously. And
Mhm.
then we did some blood work and a semen analysis. And my husband's first semen analysis came back with 0% morphology. So, like right off the bat with the fertility clinic that we went to for that, they were like, well, just you're going to need IVF because IUIs aren't going to help because
Mm.
of the morphology issue. And so we were all prepped to do IVF sometime in the next few months after that. And then my husband was like, maybe we should get a second opinion. I was like, yeah, probably. So we went to two other fertility clinics, ran similar tests, and all of my husband's semen analyses after that came back all normal. And through the whole
Mm.
IVF process, because I think they do those during every egg retrieval, they analyze the
Mm.
sperm and everything. They were all normal. So that seemed to be a one-off test.
Okay.
So after that, we were basically diagnosed unexplained.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have had issues with fibroids, but when you talk to, an OB or whatever, they're like, well, I have a lot of patients that get pregnant with fibroids, and that's not going to cause infertility. And then at some point I did have a laparoscopy where there was a little bit of endometriosis, but also very minimal, from my understanding. So still kind of stuck with the unexplained situation. So
Okay. Okay. And were you led to do an egg retrieval pretty quickly at that point? I know you've gone through 4 egg retrievals.
4 or 5,
4 or 5.
one,
Okay.
2, 3. I'm looking at my notes. Sorry.
No, it's all good. You've been through so much. I mean, more than most people.
Yeah, 4. 4.
Okay. Okay.
No, I think it's 5.
All good.
It's all starting to mush together.
Oh, I
So,
understand.
yeah, there were 5 in there. And I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh no. So with egg retrievals and like did you start off with an egg retrieval and then move quickly into a transfer in your first kind of round?
So we did my first egg retrieval and we started off with 19 eggs, which I thought
Mhm.
was pretty
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
11 of them fertilized, which I also was very happy with. And then by day 5, we had 2 embryos left,
Mm-hmm.
which was a huge blow. I was not expecting that, especially being unexplained. And my first time into this, I thought this was just going to fix everything and I was going to get pregnant. And we were
Yeah.
going to have lots of opportunities to get pregnant, with multiple embryos and stuff. And so then we sent those 2 embryos off to genetic testing, and one came back abnormal, and the other one came back that they didn't have enough of a biopsy, so that it was inconclusive.
Mm.
So I think they had given us a 50-50 chance of that one miscarrying, basically, because they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to do another egg retrieval to, I guess, kind of bank embryos.
Mm-hmm.
And
You know,
then,
I love that term so much.
yeah, I know. That's
Like
why I was
I
like,
don't. Yeah. Quote
bank.
bank. Increase your
Um,
chances to get more embryos. Yeah.
yeah. And so we decided to do that and we changed a few things up in the protocol. So I thought, okay, we did pretty decent last time. Maybe that was a one-off. And then what they told us what we could do is take that first embryo and send it with the next batch to genetic testing to get a more conclusive result.
Okay. Okay.
So that was also part of why we did it that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So that second one, I think we only got like 9 eggs retrieved. And then, but everybody's like, oh, quality over quantity. And I'm like, okay, I tried to hold on to that. Ended up with one day 5 embryo from that round. So then we sent the 2 embryos off. The one from the first round came back normal, and the other one from the next round was a mosaic. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, so then we were kind of like, okay, we only have 2 embryos and one of them is questionable. But we decided at that point to move into a transfer.
Okay. You did
So
frozen transfers? Yeah, you
yeah.
did frozen transfers.
Yeah, I never did a fresh transfer here.
Mhm.
I did do 2 fresh transfers in Turkey when we went. But my
Yeah.
body after the egg retrieval is not in the optimal place for that.
Okay.
I think there were a couple of egg retrievals where my progesterone levels were high, basically indicating that ovulation in my body had already happened. And the
Hmm.
likelihood of an implantation would be very low at that point. And that happened a couple times. When I did my first or my most recent egg retrieval last year, they were going to talk about a fresh transfer, but my body just was not there. So it gets
Hmm.
pretty wrecked in those egg retrieval processes.
You've been going through this process for 8 to 9 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
Eight
Mhm.
to 9 years. And would you share your age? I think you've been pretty open in sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 36.
36. Okay. And so starting this process, and again, probably naive like I was, not knowing like what to expect going through this. You think it's just going to work, and we only had
Absolutely.
one embryo and all of that. And I don't, how many embryos total, I guess, did you have? Were you always kind of egg retrieval transfers, more egg retrievals, more transfers? Was it kind of like back and forth like that?
Yeah, so we did not ever yield very many embryos.
Hmm.
By the time day 5 rolled around, we always had pretty decent retrievals. We had decent fertilization,
Hmm.
and they just would not make it to day 5.
Hmm.
So I mean, as far as the ones I transferred over the course of time, let's see, one, two, 3, 4. I think like 12 embryos over the course of
Wow.
all of those egg
Wow.
retrievals because the ones that I did in Turkey, they did a lot of multiples.
Mm.
And then this last year, I did 2 frozen transfers that each had 2 embryos. So,
Yeah, let's talk about that. When you went to Turkey, so how soon into your process did you say, I want to explore doing IVF overseas? Like, was this something that you did a lot of research on? Because I think anyone listening may be really curious. Like, let's consider going somewhere where it may be a little cheaper.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's becoming a little bit more common as time goes on, but so we did our 2 egg retrievals and 2 embryo transfers here in the beginning,
Hmm.
and something had come across my Instagram as I started following more and more infertility accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a statistic thing that showed all the countries that people go to and which ones were the cheapest with the highest success rates. And
Okay.
Turkey was at the top of that list at the time. And I just like banked that in my brain. And actually, I
Yeah.
may even have the post saved on my Instagram
Oh,
still.
uh-huh.
I'd have to go
Uh-huh.
back way far and look at it. But
Yeah.
and so after we had done the 2 here, 2 retrievals, 2 transfers, and just did not have any success because we love to travel.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
like, well, maybe this process could be slightly more enjoyable if we go and do it while we add on a vacation. And so I started reaching out to fertility clinics in Istanbul, well, Istanbul and in Ankara, which are the 2 big cities in Turkey.
Mm.
And we settled on this one in Istanbul where he just responded, like the doctor responded to my email
Wow.
immediately. It wasn't a coordinator, it wasn't a nurse, it was the doctor. And then we communicated on WhatsApp back and forth about the process, the cost, all the things. And it was a very
Wow.
personable
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we planned our next trip was going to just be a big trip to Turkey. And so we ended up spending 2 months in Turkey, but about a month of that was the IVF process in Istanbul.
Wow, how amazing. And your job at the time, you've been a hairdresser for 20 years, so you could
Yeah.
just kind of take a break from clients and be like, this, yeah, I'm going to
I
travel
mean,
and
yeah, they don't love it, but I've also been doing it for so long that my clients are like, all right, I'll go to somebody else for 1 or 2
yeah.
appointments.
And
So
calling your husband, he had a job where he could do that too. He could just take
yeah,
off that.
so at the time we owned a restaurant and we
Right.
ran it with his parents. So we could go on
Mm.
vacation while they ran it and we would all
Mm.
try to do that at, slower times of the year. So
Okay. And did you look at other countries too, or was Turkey kind of like on your mind? Like, we're going there.
I did. I looked into because I did some research too on, at the time, like where was best and whatever. Czech Republic came across my radar several times. I think they're supposed to be pretty phenomenal. I think if I were to do this again at some point, if I decide to do this again, I would maybe try to do Czech Republic just because they have a lot of really great reviews and high success rates. And then I actually looked into, I think it was, is it Barbados that has a
Mm,
clinic? I think there was some
okay.
Caribbean island that I was like, oh, that sounds lovely.
Let's
So yeah,
enjoy our 2-week wait there for a while.
yeah, but that one ended up being really expensive. It was not
Oh,
that
okay.
much cheaper. And cost has always been important to us because we don't have health insurance that covers it.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was going to be out of pocket. And we both agreed we did not want to go into debt paying for this process. So,
Mm. I think it's so crazy. Like when you mentioned to me that you were thinking of Turkey, and I thought in my brain, I'm like, I have an old roommate sister that lives in Turkey that I
yeah.
connected you with, and she herself had gone through a fertility path. And I'm like, I love that you both connected and you had a little contact there to help a little, but
Yeah, it was lovely. We hung out a few times while I was
oh,
there
cool.
and brought the
That's
husbands along and I met her
oh,
daughter and stuff. And yeah, I
oh,
haven't talked to her in a while, uh,
okay.
but yeah, she was lovely. Thank you for that
Oh, of course.
connection.
Yeah. Anything I could do to help. And, you hear that seed of like, okay, do I know any? Yes, I do know someone in Turkey.
Like, what are the chances?
Yeah. Random. The only person I know. Okay. So
Yeah.
your experience kind of high level, you had how many transfers there in Turkey?
So I did 2 egg retrievals there and 3 transfers. 2 of the transfers were fresh and one was frozen that I went back for.
Was that all in the same 2 months? No,
Oh no.
you went back. I know you went back.
Yeah, sorry. So that first trip there, I did an egg retrieval and a fresh transfer. But again, my progesterone levels were high, so they were like, "Don't get your hopes up for this one, but we're gonna try." So,
Gosh.
so then I had 2 frozen embryos there from
Mm,
that round. And actually, I mean, my doctor was super convinced that they were because he said they were super good quality, they looked
mm,
really good, everything. So I went back about 6 months later to do an embryo transfer by myself.
mm,
And I actually did get a positive pregnancy test from that for like a day. The
mm.
unfortunate part is I did wait like the full 14 days and it should have been darker. So he told me to wait and test 2 more days later and it just kept getting lighter and lighter and lighter. So
Ah,
that was a
okay.
good chance. It was the only positive pregnancy test I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
So after that, we decided to go try again because I was like, well, this is the most success I've had.
Mm-hmm.
So we did another egg retrieval and transfer. And I think that transfer, we transferred 3 embryos, which was slightly terrifying to me and my husband.
3 embryos. Wow.
Mhm. Just because of the thought of multiples, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I was willing to do whatever the doctor said. So we did that. And then unfortunately, we didn't end up with any excess embryos from that one.
Okay. And
That was,
then that was kind of the completion of Turkey.
mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would say that was over, like, we went the first time let's see, we went in 2021 in October. That was the first time. And then I
Mm,
went in April of 2022 for the frozen transfer. And then we went the second time in October of 2022. So that was over the course of a year that we gave
mm,
the Turkey thing a try. And it's just so far too, you know. I mean,
yeah.
Turkey itself is cheap and Istanbul is one of my favorite cities in the whole world.
Mm.
Probably slightly because of this stuff too, but it is a great city and getting there is just so hard because it's so far away. So when
Well,
you have
and
to
mind
go
you, a
back,
pandemic. Weren't we in a pandemic in 2021?
yeah, so it
So,
was really interesting that first time we went because I mean they were requiring, vaccine cards to go into movies and masks and on
ah,
buses and in museums and things
oh,
like that.
girl.
And so
Not to add in
they
more stress on your IVF
yeah,
path. Like, oh
yeah,
gosh.
I know.
Oh my
I know.
gosh.
I mean, I had my 2 frozen embryo transfers here in 2020. So
Oh, you
that was
did.
June
Okay.
of 2020 was my first one.
Ugh,
August of 2020 was the second one. I also in right before the world shut down in March of 2020, I had my second fibroid surgery
ugh,
as well. And
ugh,
then May of 2021 was my laparoscopy surgery. So, it was
yeah.
definitely a crazy time of
Oh
in
my
the medical
gosh.
world also, going through
Yeah.
COVID.
A
So,
true test of resilience. I mean, my
oh,
gosh.
thanks.
Like, seriously. I mean,
Yeah.
to be navigating all of this at that time. And
Yeah.
would you say your podcast was inspired largely from your fertility journey?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's been the hardest thing that I have ever gone through in my entire life. My biggest struggle, I think, biggest experience with grief. And I always knew in the beginning, at some point, I was like, I want to help others. And I didn't know what that
Mhm.
looked like because I was in it. I was
Yeah.
all in it. And my
Yeah.
focus was the treatments and the, cycles and all of that. And I knew that I was going to, unfortunately, I don't love this about because I don't think we talk enough while we're in the throes of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you're in the throes of it, it is hard, 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 hard. And sometimes you don't want to talk about it. So, um, I knew it would be something. I didn't know what it was. And I actually had I like to say a universal download kind of
Yeah.
in, I want to say it was like December, January time. And I was just like,
Okay.
yes, I want to do
Of this
this.
year, of this year,
Yeah. Yeah.
2024. Okay.
I was on a run and I was listening to another podcast and it just like all set in and I came home and I immediately journaled about it just to get
Mm,
all the ideas
I
that
love it.
were flowing
Yeah.
through out. And then it came to be a couple months ago. So yeah.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh,
gosh,
Tony, I didn't
Tony,
know
I didn't
that.
know
So
that.
I
So
love
I
that. And I think you're right. Like so much of what we create is often birthed out of our own challenges, things that we've navigated through. And you're in this, like you said, in real time, going through wanting to become a mom. And I think it's giving you maybe this outlet too, really to express yourself, to crack you open and you're helping so many people and you're also helping yourself.
Yeah, it actually has been so therapeutic.
Really
And even though
therapeutic.
like the podcast isn't super focused on infertility, IVF or anything like that, it's a
Mhm.
multitude of different topics. It's obviously that's my story, that's my journey through life, so it's hard to like not be a little bit more hyper focused on that.
Mhm.
But it's been so therapeutic to hear other people's struggles and it's really put a lot of stuff into perspective for me too. And then I've ventured out into a couple of episodes of solo episodes kind of just talking about currently what I'm feeling and going through.
Yeah.
And that's been really therapeutic as well to kind of get that
Yeah.
off
Will
my
you share some
chest.
of that a little bit? Because bring us up to speed where you're at in your fertility path right now and kind of the mixture of feelings that you're feeling.
Yeah, so last November was my last embryo transfer that failed, and that was the end of the embryos from that round. And I actually put my body through so much last year with
Mm.
because they were doing immune suppressant therapies on me, and then a bunch of anti-inflammatory stuff, and it just like it was tough on my body in the end.
Mm.
I think in the moment it wasn't as bad,
Mm.
but then going off of all that stuff was really, really a big challenge. And so, here I am facing the same dilemma I've faced too many times before of do I do this again? Do I just keep going? And I will say that so when we were waiting for those very first two embryos to come back from genetic testing, my husband said to me, "What happens if neither of them are viable?" And my immediate response was, "Well, we'll just do this again. We just keep going until we have success." That was like my immediate response. And then after this last November, I was like, I am so tired. I
Yeah.
don't think I can do this again. The roller coaster of emotions, the stuff that my body went through. I had this shingles last year
Oh my
from the
gosh.
meds. I got thrush from the meds. I lost half of my hair. Like
Mm.
it was a lot. So on top of the emotional side of it and the roller coaster. And I knew that I just need to heal from this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to maybe try again in the future. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I haven't ruled out adoption or those other options just yet.
Mhm.
I just like really need to heal. And so it's been an interesting journey to try to look to and accept the possibility of not having kids. Or what that looks like. So
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
know, it's a really weird spot. Initially I was really angry. I was really
Mhm.
upset. Um, I would see pregnancy announcements and all these things around me that just really like cut to my core. I
Mhm.
felt very unworthy. I feel like don't know. It's just, and then there's all these other feelings, like most recently, I think I just talked about this on my podcast, but
Mhm.
like my husband, I never ever imagined a life without kids with him. And so, or a family with him. And so I always thought that that would be maybe a deeper love connection between us that we would share. And then so recently I experienced very, very deep feelings on not feeling worthy enough for him
Mm.
to just be the two of us for the rest of our life. Like, am I good enough
Oh.
for him, which he has never made me feel not good enough by all means. I have a wonderful husband and I'm very,
Yeah.
very grateful for him
Yeah.
through all of this because I know it takes a toll on relationships and marriages
Mhm.
as well. And I got in this lull of like, I'm not good enough. And what if he doesn't love me for forever? But the reality is he may not anyways, not because of that. Like you just never
Yeah.
know is my point, right? Like it's so,
Yeah.
um, and so, yeah, I don't know.
I
And
just appreciate you keeping that so real, like you're in it. You're in these feelings of am I worthy of this? Am I going to live a child-free life? And being open to potential other ways of motherhood, right? You're kind of
yeah,
considering that maybe at some point, but I know you still want to try to have your own biological children.
yeah, it would be really, really nice. And
Mhm.
I keep trying to tell myself that like, I mean, I'm not doing any preventing and there have been miracles that have happened to people before. So,
Yeah.
maybe at some point, I don't know, it could happen,
Yeah.
but it's tough because I do think that a little bit of the IVF process and fertility treatments in general can be addicting.
Mm.
And I think it's really, really hard sometimes to know. I mean, I do believe that each person gets to their point of this is enough, enough is enough. And you know that deep in your soul. And I did know that with this last treatment. And I do not believe I will be pursuing any more treatments in the future. Again, maybe as I get through more healing, that could change. And I'm
Yeah.
open to that. Also, I'm not getting any younger, so that doesn't really help. But
Mhm.
um, but I do think there's a level of it that is addicting, and because it's always that little glimmer of hope that, it could be, it could be, it could be.
Yeah.
But you really need to listen to your intuition and your body and what is best for you,
Mm.
each individual situation.
I'm so glad you are prioritizing your healing. And even before this podcast call, you were sharing with me you're doing some energy work. And I'm curious, along your fertility path, doing these different energy and somatic practices, was this something you were doing on your fertility path? Is this more new for you to explore?
I was doing it, I maybe about halfway through.
Okay.
I
Okay.
actually Well, through fertility, they always encourage acupuncture. So I think that might have been like the start of that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. And then I have a massage therapist that I go to every month because of my body and my job. I have to keep that up or I won't be able to do it for a super long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had come across something, I don't even remember what it was at this point, but it was some type of like stomach massage that
Arvigo, right? Arvigo massage?
that doesn't sound
Think.
familiar. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't remember what
okay.
I found, but I
Okay.
asked her, I was like, do you do this type of massage
Okay. Uh-huh.
in preparing for some of my treatments?
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't, but I know another massage therapist that does. And
Mm.
so I started seeing this. It was a massage slash energy healer gal who was wonderful for the chapter that she was wonderful for.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that kind of really got me into more of the more natural and energetic
Mhm.
healing. And then I went on a hairstylist retreat where there was an energy healer and we did different groups with her and the effect from that. Like I came
Mhm.
home feeling like a totally different person. And then doing some stuff with you. I think you did a chakra reading on me one of the first times we
Yeah, I
met,
did. Uh-huh.
and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. And then I just kind of deep dived into some books on it and things like that. And then
Yeah.
I read the Miracle Morning book. I don't know if you've read that, but so now
Mm.
I do more morning stuff of, exercising, meditation, journaling. Not every day. I'm not as good at
Yeah.
it now as I
No, yeah.
was, but but yeah, so that was kind of my journey into that stuff.
And are you finding it helpful for you as
Yes.
you're moving through
Yeah,
grief
I went
and
to
all of it?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
went to a therapist early on that specialized in infertility. And I don't know if it was her or me or what, we just didn't have the connection that I wanted to have.
Mhm.
And I felt like it was just somebody I could go cry to. And I wanted someone more hands-on and somebody who could give me more things to work on when I'm not with them. I'm a
Yeah.
very open book and I will cry about my feelings to my friends. I will cry about my feelings to my family. So I didn't need somebody to do that with
Yeah.
because I could go to people. There were people I felt safe to do that with at the
Okay.
time, and then I didn't want to pay a fortune to to
Yeah.
do that. So the energy stuff worked really, really great for me. That
Mhm.
felt more effective to me.
And currently, like, moving through your grief, I'm sure you've developed this really thick skin, right? Through all of us who've walked this path, you develop this kind of almost like an armor around you.
Hmm.
And there's this balance of like protecting ourselves and our emotions, but then like allowing ourselves to be open, to feel everything, to move through this in the best possible way, right? Like I think
Yeah.
there's this way of how much do we armor up, but it's also removing some of that armor to allow in the space
Yeah,
for the healing.
actually, with my most recent energetic healing appointment, we were
Yeah.
talking about um, just the, oh, hold on, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Like armoring up or protecting ourselves with certain
Oh
things.
yeah, so more recently I've just been feeling a little bit more, it's really hard to explain because but I
Mhm.
was wondering if I was suppressing
Oh, okay.
because I'm starting to feel a little bit more neutral towards the
Yeah, yeah,
situation.
yeah.
And I was worried that I was going to be suppressing it and like
Okay.
ignoring it and not wanting to talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
And she actually, in our little meditation that we did, she said she saw a little figure of Tawny on a GPS moving through the things and not around it. So
Good. Yeah.
that was really comforting to feel like I finally got to that point,
Yeah.
but it's so hard to pinpoint sometimes on your own. And am I building that armor back up? I guess is where I was going with that. Like,
Mhm.
am I building that back up to where I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to acknowledge it that I went through that. Or have I been slightly breaking it down to where
Mm.
I'm accepting it more,
Mm.
I think.
This is really good. I think getting to a place of neutral, we can go deep on this. I think getting to a
Yeah.
place of neutrality can be really helpful, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not bypassing, you're acknowledging this hurt and pain you've gone through. It's a part of
Mm-hmm.
your story. It's a chapter of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, like we talk about this, like it's enhanced who you are. It makes up, if things were so easy all the time, like where is that character building? Where is that? Like we're creating ourselves through these challenges. It's not when everything is going great and easy and smooth, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I look back to the person that I was before all of this, and
Mm.
it's very, very different. And I don't know that I would go back to that Tawny. I
I love
mean,
that. I love that.
not that that
That's
Tawny
important
was,
to for people to hear that. Like,
yeah.
right? You wouldn't change. I mean, obviously, yes, you want to be a mom, but it's like what you have navigated through. Can you share a glimmer of that? Like who you were before, or what have you grown into from this journey, from this path?
I think honestly knowing myself a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
um, just discovering more about myself and who I am and who I want to be. The
Yeah.
compassion piece of it is huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Unfortunately, I think it's very difficult to have compassion and deep compassion for people and empathy when you haven't gone through anything massive. And I fully believe that everyone has gone through something that has changed them. Um, but it is an interesting piece that I look back on that I'm so grateful for now. The compassion, the empathy, and just wanting to, I don't know, just
Mm-hmm.
be a good person. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's not very deep. I know everybody's trying to be a
No,
good
of
person in
course.
life, but
No, but yeah.
but acknowledging like where I want to. And then also I learned a lot of boundaries through this too.
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because I was very open in the beginning of my journey, and I'm still very open, but
Yeah.
it's not something I talk about as regularly. And I mean, with my clients at work and stuff, and trying to protect myself a little bit while still sharing my story for others and for people who have never been through it to understand. It's hard
Yeah.
to find those boundaries.
Oh, it's huge, right? Yeah. We've talked. I mean, I know Brene Brown's really good at saying like, who's earned the right to hear your story,
I
right?
love
Who do you
Brene Brown.
want to open up to? Who do you, and not everybody needs an update and explanation. Like we
Yeah,
get to determine that kind of
yeah,
pace, right? Do we want to share it with everybody? Sometimes it can be really healing to open up.
yeah.
And other times it's like, we don't owe everyone an explanation
I
on
mean,
every step of the process.
I actually accidentally unloaded my story on Facebook in the very
Okay.
beginning.
Yeah.
I was trying to do like it was National Infertility Awareness Week.
Oh.
And I was going to do a fundraiser for Resolve. And I thought that I was posting in the fundraiser or whatever, and that it would be just to those people. And it ended up going on to my timeline. And
Oh.
I was like, oh my God, I did not mean to
Mhm.
I didn't talk to Colin about this. Like, I just literally outed our story
Oh.
to the entire, world on Facebook. And I had amazing responses.
Did
And
you?
yes,
Good.
but the only way I figured it out was I started getting comments from people that I was like, why is this person commenting? And then I was like, oh no. And
Oh.
that actually kind of started the whole, me sharing
Oh, did
it.
it?
And
Okay.
so I was very open on Instagram and Facebook, and then it kind of morphed into, as I got further into it, I would do Facebook groups with just the people in it that I wanted to share with, like immediate family, because it does get,
Mm.
if you are open about it, it does get exhausting to have to update everybody
Yeah.
because they do expect it and they want it, and for good reason. They want to support you. It's not that they're trying to be nosy; they just want to know.
Mm-hmm.
It got, too much to constantly be sending text messages to each individual person. And
Wow.
so
Yeah.
then I did the Facebook groups, and now I'm just kind of like, I share bits and pieces, and that's about it.
No, boundary setting is really good. That's good for anyone listening, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
to protect yourself, to just know what you're willing to be open about, maybe not be open, and just protecting your peace through
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
Um, you have almost anyone I've known, I mean, have gone through this, and I've helped clients who've gone through, they come to me sometimes after 8 or 9 transfers, and it's like you have gone through this for many, many years.
Hmm.
Um, are there things that you would, looking back, or for anyone listening, really, that's wanting to also find success as you are, like quotes, and I say that in quotes because success is, yes, you want to bring home a baby. But I
Yeah.
also, we've talked like success is your resiliency in moving forward. You are courageous in continuing the path, taking one foot in front of the other. Like, what would you say to someone who's also walking this path too, that, could lean on you for some words of wisdom, that you've navigated through some really hard things doing this overseas? Um, are there things you would have started off doing differently, or what can you advise anyone listening who's walking this too?
It's so hard, right? Because I think that everybody going into this process goes into it very naively. And and I have yet to hear an experience of a doctor, really walking people through all of this stuff. And I did. I naively went into my first round thinking this was just going to fix everything.
Mm.
And, I don't know. I kept going and I kept going. And like I said, I think really listen to yourself too on what you're willing to endure, what you want to endure when your body and mind and soul tell you it's time. Because I think that's really hard to listen to because you want it so badly, and you don't. Here's another thing I've been experiencing too is the shame of walking away from it and feeling like maybe I don't want it enough, or people are going to think I don't want it enough because I
Mm.
didn't continue until I had success. Um, I do think that, there's nothing wrong with persisting. Obviously, I did it and I wouldn't change that because of my experiences and what it has made me today.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really listen to yourself and your intuition, because it's also very easy to get lost in all of
Mm-hmm.
it and lose yourself. I definitely lost myself over the course of those years. And that's another thing I'm working on now, is trying to find who Tawny is and what Tawny likes, because I just thought for so long I was going to have a baby and I was going to be a mom, and that was going to be my purpose in life. And like, now I'm like, oh, what do I actually like in
Mm-hmm.
life? What do I want to do? And so, don't lose
Mm.
yourself.
Well, gosh, you're speaking my language. I mean, it's the essence of my book. Hold on to you first.
Yes,
Hold on, baby.
yes, yes.
And
And
I
it's
always
so
say,
hard
like,
to do when you're in the throes of it, right?
you're right. And I believe it is a deepening into who we are, a deepening and discovering what you're capable of, what
Hmm.
you're able to endure, what beauty can come from this.
Yeah.
Look at the podcasts you created and the
Yeah.
new things you are creating, the lives you're touching by being
Mm,
open and sharing your story.
yeah.
I know you do see the glimmers of, what do you call, the silver linings, right?
I try to. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Every day is different. Like, I definitely have
Mm-hmm.
a long journey to go still, but I'm getting there. It's a
Yeah. Are
it's a work in progress. So,
there any
and I
things that,
feel,
yeah,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Okay.
I feel for anybody who's going through it. I really
Yeah.
wouldn't wish this on anybody. Truly,
Mhm.
it's so much harder than people think, to navigate the fertility treatments, the everyday life, the emotions, the every month in between that you're hoping that you get that miracle too.
Mhm.
It's hard. It's so hard. And the anger and hurt is it's rooted so deep, so deep. And, it
Mhm.
comes to the surface for me every once in a while here. It's getting less and less, like I said, but it's there. So,
What would you say to a woman? Give yourself permission to, what comes to mind?
oh
Give
God.
yourself permission to.
Grief is the first thing that comes up, and
Mhm.
that grief process is not easy.
Mhm.
As I learned recently, you got to work your way up the staircase of emotions, and grief is at the bottom. So,
Mhm.
grief, devastation, despair, uh,
Mhm.
depression. Um, but you got to
Mhm.
also feel all those feels, I think, to heal.
Oh, yes, yes.
So,
Allow yourself to have the ugly cry, the sad cry,
yeah,
the
as hard as it is to feel it, allow yourself to go through it. Because I
mm,
do believe you'll be, I know it's cliche, but you'll be stronger on the other side for
mhm.
sure. And it's true. It's true. It's
Oh
just a
my gosh.
process.
Ah, well, I'm so honored that you're open and sharing, because
Mhm.
you're in it and I see you, and it's emotional. It's like when sometimes we don't always see the light that we cast. Like, I see you and I see
Mm,
your heart and your passion and what you're creating and the impact, the
thank you.
resilience, like, you're still doing it. You're putting yourself out there.
Yeah. Which is scary sometimes, but I also think that we need to know that other people are struggling too, and it's not just us. And even if it's a different struggle, it's
Mm-hmm.
life is hard. The life we're living, the world we're living in, it's hard. And so many people feel so alone. And I
Mm-hmm.
have had my dark moments where I was just like, no one gets this. Nobody understands, especially the further into this I got, because in my immediate world, um, most of even the friends that I made through the IVF process, most of them, if not all, have gone on to have success at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt very, very lonely to have gone through what I've gone through and still not have success. And I still have those moments, but I am actually creating a new community of women who, like, I'm finding that there are people out there in my position. It's just it's few and far between talked about. Like it's not
Mm.
talked about as much. And you see the success stories that end with a baby. And, that can be really hard when you're not one of those people. So,
Are these groups that you're joining or that you are going to create yourself for
oh
others?
no, groups that I've joined or
Oh, okay.
I don't remember exactly how it came about. I don't know if somebody's thing popped up on my Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but I discovered the term childless not by choice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there is a whole community of that. And I had no idea because I was so stuck in the IVF world
Mm.
of, no, all these people that are having success, that's going to be my world. And, realizing that that may not be, it has made it a little bit easier to accept that knowing that there are other people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And now I follow a few
Yeah.
Instagram accounts that are like the Childless Collective and things like that. And
Okay.
Blooming with Care, she was on my
Yeah.
podcast and
Carrie, you like her. Yeah.
she's amazing. So
Yeah. So
yeah, so
inspiring.
it's just been it's been so nice to find
Yeah.
a community of those people that really do get it. So
Mhm. And what are some of the things that you're finding beauty in today? What are things that are lighting you up in the world right now?
music.
Oh yeah,
Well,
you're a concert goer like I I love.
oh, I love concerts. It's my favorite thing to do. And again, like if I end up being somebody without kids, I'll have a lot more money, I think. So to go do those things, to go
More
do money and
traveling, right?
time
You've
and
been to 44 countries, right?
yeah, 44. And then we're about to add 2 more here in
Oh
September.
my
So
gosh.
yeah.
So
So yeah,
traveling,
yeah.
music. I know you cook, you bake, you.
Yep. And then dance has really been a huge thing for me. And
Yeah.
I think moving your body is important too, is very therapeutic. I started dancing when I was 3 years old, and then I dabbled in it. I did it all the way till I was a junior in high school. And then I kind of quit for a while. And then I dabbled again in my early 20s. And then I kind of have
Mm.
recently started coming back to it, but it's another one of those things that I'm trying not to have any expectations for myself for and to
Mhm.
just move and do it and not have to be the best and not have to compete and all these things. Because when I dabbled in my early 20s, I tried out for the Denver Nuggets dancers.
Oh, that's right.
So I was training for that and I actually made it to like the second to last cut. So that
You
was pretty
did.
impressive for my
Oh.
first time. Um, but then I kind of quit doing, but there was always like that goal towards it. And now I use it just for therapy and to move
Mm.
and the music and the feeling. And that's been incredible for me to get back into too.
Oh yeah, preach. I think movement, moving our body. I mean, as you know, I'm into all the chakras and it's like
Yeah.
moving the energy. Like
Hmm.
things can get stuck in our body. And so any kind of dance, that's a form of art. So
Yeah.
the more creative energies we can pull in to support us on our path, the
Yeah.
better to
Yeah.
move
And
the
I think it's
energy.
so interesting. The more that I am doing my podcast and interviewing people,
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
finding that creative
Yeah.
outlets are
Yeah.
hugely like
Everything.
therapeutic for
Yeah.
all different types of people. And I think it's so interesting, whether it's art, whether
Yeah.
it's, dancing, like
Hmm.
it's so
Oh, well, and
interesting.
podcasting is a form of art, I believe.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's our
And
creative.
me doing hair is a form of
Yes.
art too,
Yeah.
but
Oh my gosh.
that's become a job and a living. And I love doing it, but I think
Yeah.
it's different when there's money attached to it like that, and that's what I have to do to
Yeah.
pay my
Well,
bills.
how
So,
cool is it that you get to do art and make money through it too? I mean,
well,
I've
that's
had my
true.
hair done by you and you're
Yeah.
amazing with balayage and
Thank
everything. That you
you.
are painting.
Yeah.
That's the canvas you're
Yeah.
using.
Yeah.
So whether it's dance,
Unfortunately, I think that because I sit there and listen to everyone else's problems, I don't get the therapeutic
um,
aspect of it as much.
oh,
If I
well,
was just
maybe
sitting there
it's in the act of
painting,
doing. That's my occupational therapy hat going on. It's like, yeah, that is a therapeutic activity when you are doing hair, you are moving your body, you are doing a podcast. Like all of this has a purpose and it's enhancing your creativity even more. So
yeah,
keep going, keep going.
I'm
Your
gonna.
podcast is incredible.
Thank
Radiant
you.
Resilience. Share with everybody like where they can listen and find you and connect with you.
Yeah, so my podcast, Radiant Resilience, is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I think I recently put it on Amazon as well. So if you have
Cool.
Amazon Music, yeah, Radiant Resilience, and it's conversations or real conversations with Tawny Palm. That's me.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you search that, it should come up. There's a few other podcasts that are called Radiant Resilience. So I put that at the end of
Oh,
it to kind of, narrow that down.
okay.
I'm on Instagram at Tawny Palm, and it's palm like the palm tree. So
Yep.
that's the best places to find me, I think. Yeah. And if you want your hair
Awesome.
done, there's my business is called Tawny Nicole Hair Design. So that's on Instagram, Facebook, and then my email for that is tawnynicolehairdesign@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
thank
I
you.
adore you. And
Yes, I
we've been
adore you
connected for a
too.
while and just I'm always here to support you,
Thank
rooting you
you.
on, you know that.
Yeah, and
So
you too. Whenever
thank
you
you.
need some support, because you support so many other people, sometimes you
Mm,
need that support too. So
Means a lot, girl. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
All
thank you for
right.
having me on.
Yes. Can't wait to chat again soon. Love you, girl.
Love you
Bye.
too. Thanks. Bye.